was gonna die. I just thought I'd have more time with him.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Angela.
Well, it's not just my loss, it's the world's. Jeremy could have been anything. He was so smart and talented. You should see his drawings.
What did he draw pictures of?
Oh, just things from his imagination. Forests with twisted trees, dark rooms with dark figures. Well, it was kind of dark, but it was beautifully done.
I'd like to see them. What do you remember most about Jeremy?
Isn't he cute? This was his prized possession. No matter how lost he got, no matter how far down he fell, no matter how many bottoms he hit, he never lost this. It was his pride and joy. Jeremy could have been anything. I tried to encourage him towards art, but he didn't have the patience for art classes, or any class for that matter. He was always in trouble.
Do you mean at school?
Yeah, when he was younger, and then later with the police.
What were the charges?
Drug possession, car theft, robbery, assault. And then when he got really bad. I don't want to talk about that. Jeremy hated himself. He wanted to die, and I just never understood why. He wasn't hurting himself, he was letting other people do it. It's like he felt he deserved the punishment.
In what ways was he self-destructive?
Well, he drank a lot. Took every drug under the sun. I never knew what he was on because he was always on more than one. I never thought he'd try heroin. But the first time I found him passed out with the needle in his arm, I thought he was dead. I screamed. I think that's when I knew he was gonna die. I felt it. It scared me.
That must have been very difficult for you to witness.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying.
Just say what's on your mind. There's no right or wrong.
Okay, well, I guess I'm the only one that didn't do drugs or drink. I don't know why, I just never liked the smell of it. It gave me a sad and depressed feeling. I never liked going to bars. I just hated the smell.
You said you were the only one that didn't do drugs or alcohol. What do you mean?
Oh, our foster mother was always warning Jeremy and me about drinking and doing drugs. I guess every family member was a drug addict and alcoholic.
Are they still active? Alcoholics and addicts?
They're all dead.
All of them? Which ones do you mean?
I mean, they're all dead. All of them. They're my parents, my grandparents, my uncles and aunts. Except one uncle. He's serving several life sentences at some prison somewhere. And now he's my only living relative. Isn't that funny?
Why would that be funny?
Well, he killed them all.
I appreciate you agreeing to see me, Mr. Kaminsky. I'm Sarah Deegan.
Well, Sarah, I didn't agree to see you.
But you did agree to a victim-offender dialogue, and I'm here to help with that.
Victim-offender dialogue.
What is it about victim-offender dialogue you find amusing, Mr. McKinsky?
Well, you're not the victim. And the dialogue is supposed to be with the victim, isn't it?
Well, Mr. Kaminsky, there are certain procedures that need to be followed before the meeting with your niece can be scheduled.
I'm not very good at following.
Would you like me to call you Spider? You communicated that to staff.
Yes, I prefer to be called Spider.
Was that a name you adopted, or was that a nickname that was given to you?
I used to climb on everything. They called me Spider, the name stuck.
I see. So the most important thing I need to know from you is if you take full responsibility for your crimes.
Well, no one else did it.
I see. You did confess to the murders.
Yes, I did.
And so you take full responsibility for your actions.
No one else was there.
You're not answering the question, Spider.
Yes, I know.
Are you guilty of the crime of murder?
Yes.
So you take full responsibility.
I had the gun and there's 6 dead bodies.
Spider, you're still not answering the question.
Actually, I answered it several times. In several different ways. What answer are you looking for?
That you take full responsibility for your crimes.
Well, no one held the gun to my head and made me do it.
I find your answers evasive.
And I find your question unnecessary and repetitive.
Well, why is that?
I'm serving 8 consecutive life sentences for the crimes of murder in the 1st degree. I confessed to the crime many years ago. What more do you want from me? And if you say to take responsibility, I'll get up and walk out of here.
You agreed to this meeting.
I agreed to meet with my niece.
And this is the first step.
No, the first step is having her come in here and we sit down and chat.
I'm afraid it doesn't work that way.
What else are you afraid of?
What do you mean?
You said you were afraid it doesn't work that way. What else are you afraid of? Are you afraid of me?
Should I be?
I'm a mass murderer. I slaughtered an entire family in cold blood, systematically walking from room to room, shooting and killing everyone in the house. I'd say that's a dangerous person.
Are you dangerous?
When I need to be.
When do you need to be?
When I'm not in solitary confinement.
How often are you in solitary confinement?
I'm always in solitary confinement.
So you're saying at this moment, you're dangerous.
You really don't listen very well, do you?
I don't know what you mean.
I said I'm dangerous when I'm not in solitary confinement. And hey, I'm not in solitary confinement.
So you are saying you are dangerous.
Did you hear me say that?
No.
Head games.
What do you mean by that?
You seem to only be willing to accept one answer to your question. Without that specifically worded sentence, you take that as a negative response. Now you've asked me the same question and I've answered it several times.
You have given answers that seem like a response. But in reality, the question, do you take full responsibility for your crimes, is a simple yes or no answer. Yes, you do. No, you don't.
Is it?
Is it what?
Is it as simple as yes or no?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be great if life were that simple? That it would all come down to yes or no?
I think we both can agree life is not that simple.
Oh, you do.
I do what?
You think we agree.
The emphasis is on think.
Exactly. You didn't say you were 100% positive that we agreed, or that you were sure we agreed, or that there was no doubt we agreed. You said you think we agree. Well, you can think whatever you want, but the truth is you don't know that we agree that life is not simple. My life is very simple. I wake up in a cell, I spend my day in the cell, and I go to sleep in the cell. Very simple.
Then you would say you have a simple life.
In comparison to what?
Your niece is asked to meet with you, and you agreed to meet with her. But there's a series of interviews that need to take place before that meeting can happen.
Exactly. She asked to see me, and I agreed to see her. So bring her down here so that we can chat. It's a simple process.
Unfortunately, it's not that simple. And if you refuse to cooperate, you'll be denying your niece the opportunity to meet with you.
No, you will be denying her that. You are making this a much more difficult and complicated process than it needs to be. All you need to do is be in the room with us when we meet. Simple.
Spider, I need to present to a committee a decision based on these meetings before there's a face-to-face.
So it's even more complicated. Not only do I have to pass your test, but then I need to be studied and analyzed to see if there's the remote possibility that my niece might have an untherapeutic negative response to the face-to-face meeting with the man who murdered her mother and father. Now the face-to-face is going to be difficult enough, and yet what you are doing is simply denying my niece the ability to ask the questions she wants to ask. Stop the screaming! Stop the fire! Don't look down. Go to the closet. Go in the closet. Don't look down. Go in the closet. Go in the closet. Go in the closet. Don't look down. Go to the closet. Go to the closet. Don't look down. Go to the closet. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life's a pretty dream. So, what's up, Doc?
I'm not a doctor.
I didn't say you were, Doc. Do you mind if I call you Doc?
I don't think I can stop you from calling me that, or for you to take responsibility for your crimes.
How that? Do I take responsibility for my crime? What do you think?
I don't know, but we need to get past this question. You do understand that I need to protect your niece.
You need to protect my niece?
Yes. Angela's been traumatized many times in her life. From the murder of her family to the death of her beloved brother, Jeremy. Are you aware of your nephew's overdose from heroin?
No, how am I supposed to know that? So he was shooting heroin. Not surprised, I guess. Was it just an overdose, or did he commit suicide?
He seems to purposely have taken an overdose, but there was no suicide note. But Angela believes it was suicide.
Why?
Why she believes that?
Yes.
She doesn't know, just a feeling.
Well, if they were as close as adults as they were as children, I'd believe her. By the way, when do I get to see my niece?
That depends on you, Spider. Angela believes meeting you will help her in her recovery, but...
Oh, no buts about it, Doc. Just bring her in here, I'll answer her questions.
You haven't yet answered my question.
You've only asked one so far.
And you have repeatedly sidestepped the answer. Do you take full responsibility for your crimes of murder?
I took responsibility for the crimes I committed.
Okay, Spider. Let me ask you this. Do you take full responsibility for the murder of your sister?
Oh, a new question. Did I finally answer the other one correctly?
You murdered your sister. Do you take full responsibility for that crime?
I take responsibility for my part in the death of my sister.
And what was your part?
I had the gun.
And who else shares responsibility with you?
My sister.
You believe your sister is responsible for her own murder?
She was only responsible for her part,
And what was her part?
being in front of my gun.
Where should she have been?
Anywhere else, but she chose to be in that house, and so she was the target, and wouldn't have been it had she not been there.
She was responsible for her own murder because she lived in the house?
That, and she didn't run fast enough or find a safe place to hide. She was in the path of my gun, and so she was shot, and so she died. I remembered something.
What's that?
My uncle, the one that killed everyone, I think his name was Spider. I remembered calling him Uncle Spider. And it's a real memory because I really remembered it.
How does that make you feel?
Sad, lost, confused, and strangely hopeful. I don't know why or what that means, but
That's a lot of feelings.
yeah, but surprisingly, it didn't make me scared. But I am scared.
Of what?
Well, the other night I was washing the dishes and somebody set off fireworks down the street. And I screamed and I dropped to the floor and I started crawling around on my hands and knees. And I kept saying over and over again, don't look down, go in the closet, don't look down, go in the closet. And I crawled around on the floor until I came to the closet, and then I went in and barricaded myself in there.
Do you remember what you were feeling or thinking when it happened?
No, when John found me, I was singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
Do you know what that means?
That I'm going insane.
No, you're not going insane. Do you know why you said, don't look down and go in the closet, and we're singing the song?
I guess that has something to do with that night.
What is that night?
The night that Uncle Spider killed everyone.
it was that night?
Well, because that night we were in the closet and it sounded like fireworks. And there were screams. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm scared. I don't think I want to remember.
Do you feel any remorse from the murder of your sister?
Yes.
Interesting.
Tell me about her murder.
Well, she heard the gunshot when I killed Luke.
Her husband.
You got it, Doc. I shot her husband and Maddie ran in.
Her name was Madeline?
Her name was Madeline and I called her Maddie. And she ran in and saw the blood and that half his face was gone and she screamed, "Why?" She ran up to me and started slapping and hitting me.
And what did you do?
I cocked the gun.
If you were to put yourself in your sister's shoes, what would you have been feeling or thinking at the time?
To having your own brother chasing after you with a gun with the intent on shooting and killing you.
That wouldn't have happened, Doc.
And why is that?
Because I wouldn't have been in that house with those people doing those things.
What things?
What thing, Spider?
What things, Spider?
I'm tired of your questions, Doc. I liked it better when you were asking the same one over and over again. Just get her in here.
Spider, you agreed to meet with your niece.
And yet you seem determined not to.
Why do you think I'm determined not to?
The end result of the VOD is hopefully a new understanding between the parties, especially healing for the victim.
You didn't answer my question. Why do you think that I'm determined not to see my niece?
You refuse to take responsibility for your crimes, and you apparently have no remorse from the murder of your sister.
You still haven't answered my question. What about my answer leads you to believe that I'm determined not to meet with my niece?
As I just said, no responsibility, no remorse.
So, in other words, if I were to answer your question in a way that you deem taking responsibility, or I show remorse in a way that you find satisfactory, then I would be showing determination to meet with my niece?
That would be a start.
But I am answering your questions, Doc, and I'm answering them honestly.
Spider, you murdered your sister, your nieces, mother and father.
When Angela was only 8 years old,
Her life was changed forever because of your actions.
she was put into the foster care system.
She and her brother's lives were changed forever. Jeremy was a troubled young man.
Who was unable to cope with his addiction and committed suicide.
Am I to take responsibility for the death of my nephew? I didn't stick the needle in his arm. Yet you're insinuating that my crime 25 years ago was in some way responsible for his suicide.
I'm not saying that. I'm speaking of the trauma that your niece has suffered.
First from the murder of her parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and now the death of her brother.
She deserves to be face to face with someone that can help her.
I will not put her in harm's way.
She was in harm's way and I let her out.
Can you explain that?
I told her and Jeremy to go in the closet.
Is that because you thought you might shoot and kill them too?
No. It was because their father was lying on the floor in front of their bed with half his head blown off, and they were sitting there, so I instructed them not to look down and to go downstairs into the closet.
Had you only killed their father at that time?
Yeah.
So did you plan to continue murdering the other members of the household?
Other than my niece and nephew, I planned to kill anyone who got in front of my gun. It happened to be the entire family.
Why?
Why what?
Why did you plan to kill everyone?
Well, that was the goal.
But why?
Because! Doc, just because!
Because why, Spider?
I'm tired of your questions, Doc. My niece wants to meet with me and ask me questions. I consented because I believe she deserves to have her questions answered. So get her in here. That's the new goal.
No, Spider. The goal is for Angela to heal. Now, how do you believe Angela's going to feel when she asks you why you killed her mother, and you say because she lived in the house or didn't move fast enough to get out of the way of your gun? How is that anyway helpful to her?
But Doc, that is why her mother was killed. Doesn't my niece deserve to know that?
And you believe your answers will be healing for her?
My niece wants answers. That doesn't mean that the answers will be what she expects or that she even likes. If the point of the VOD is simply to have her get answers that she wants to hear, there's no point in doing it. You don't seem to understand that I want to answer my niece's questions, but we don't even know what those are. So bring her in here. Then we can get her started on the way to healing.
So you do want her to heal?
What am I, stupid? That's what she said. So let's rip open the stitches and stick our hands in the wound. I remembered something about that night. I remembered that after the screaming and the fireworks stopped, it got quiet. Eerily quiet. And then the closet door opened, and Uncle Spider was standing there with the rifle. And Jeremy and I followed him down the hall into the living room. We sat down on the floor in a circle. We held hands. And we started to sing.
What did you sing?
Row your boat.
That sounds terrifying.
It does, doesn't it? But I wasn't scared. I was happy.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. Jeremy and I sang Row Your Boat all the time. It was our thing. When one of us wasn't feeling good, the other one would start to sing it, and then we'd both sing and we'd feel better. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life's but a dream. I guess this makes sense now. Uncle Spider. But I don't understand.
What don't you understand?
Why would he want a spider after our uncle killed our whole family and then we were in foster care? And why would Row Your Boat be calming to us? I don't understand. There's a part of me that just wants to do what Jeremy wanted me to do.
What was that?
Not to remember. He begged me not to remember.
Remember what?
I don't know. I don't remember that night. I don't remember anything before that night. And he kept asking me, do you remember? And I would be like, no, I don't remember. And he would be happy for a little while, but then it would become an obsession with him again. And I don't understand. Jeremy's dead.
Yes, he is.
Jeremy's dead and I need answers. And now I can't ask anybody because I'm all alone.
Are you all alone?
I was in the closet the other day, yet again. And I was crying and crying. John opened the door, looked down at me and said, well, at least you're not singing Row Your Boat. And then he turned around and walked away. And I knew he was going to leave me.
And did he?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm not. He hated Jeremy. And now I realize that I hated him. Oh, Sarah, I'm so alone. I am. I'm so alone. I don't have any... Oh my God. I know what I need.
What do you need?
I need to talk to my uncle, Spider.
What do you think he can do?
I don't know what he can... All I know is I need to talk to him. I want to know why.
Why he killed everyone?
No. Why he didn't kill me and Jeremy.
about your sister?
She was beautiful,
Physically?
stunning. Until the drugs and alcohol took over, and then she was a mess.
Did you have a good relationship with her?
Define good.
Did you fight?
Only after she met her husband.
The man you killed.
Yes.
Do you feel Luke was the cause of the problems you have with your sister?
He was a part of the problem. The drugs and alcohol addled Maddie's brain, and she was erratic. She was argumentative and cruel in her remarks.
To you?
To her children.
Is that what you fought about?
Most of the time, yes.
You fought about how she treated her children.
Yes.
Why did the behavior towards your children affect you?
Because they were children.
Would you consider your sister to be a good mother?
Do you need me to define good?
No definition needed. She was a terrible mother.
In what way was she a terrible mother?
For the reasons I just gave you.
Does that constitute a terrible mother?
Well, it doesn't constitute a good mother. Look, Maddie took them to that house. She neglected Jeremy and Angela. She didn't feed them. She didn't clean their clothes. She spent no time with them.
And this is why you and your sister fought.
Mostly, yes.
Did you live in the house?
No.
How did you find out about the neglect?
Well, I went over there as much as I could. The kids would tell me about it. I'd bring food and we'd do laundry so they have clean clothes. But I was working and I couldn't get over there much.
You took care of your niece and nephew.
Is that a question or a statement?
That's a statement.
Well, I wouldn't say I was taking care of them. I was doing what should have been done in the first place.
But you took it upon yourself to feed and clothe them.
Didn't Maddie live with Luke and his parents and his brothers and their wives?
Yes.
And yet you, who didn't live in the house, fed and washed the children's clothes?
You put it all into one sentence.
If your sister and her husband were incapable of taking care of the children, why weren't the other adults in the household doing it?
You'd have to ask them.
You killed them.
Then we won't know why. Is there the slim possibility that I might meet with my niece face to face in some time in the near future, since it's been forever since she asked?
I'm trying to understand how the same man who fed and washed his niece and nephew's clothes could also kill his sister and 7 other people.
One has nothing to do with the other.
I don't agree. You stated you went to the house as often as you could. You fed and helped the kids launder their clothes. Did you spend any other time with them?
Yeah, we'd go outside and they'd run around like kids do. We'd play catch and frisbee, stuff like that.
Those acts, those interactions show a level of concern and care for another human being.
Children.
It shows sensitivity, compassion, and affection. Spider, did you love your niece and nephew?
I'm their uncle.
But did you love them?
I do.
And yet you were also able to systematically, seemingly without feeling, walk through your sister's house, and her husband's family either ran or hid or had no time to react, and you shot them all at close range.
So?
8 people you were very familiar with. You stood within inches of and shot them multiple times, all at least once in the head.
So?
Honestly, that kind of mass murder is usually committed by somebody with a lack of compassion or caring for another human being.
They weren't human beings.
What do you mean?
Spider, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean they weren't human beings?
I'm not saying they were aliens.
What do you mean they weren't human beings?
What are you saying, Spider?
I'm saying they weren't human beings.
Do you take responsibility for the crimes you committed?
Spider, you take full responsibility for the crimes you committed.
Yes.